Okay, so I will just briefly go over the new features for feature release 6.7.0, and it will be a few features, maybe not all of them. Then I will quickly talk about the bugs we fixed, and in the end, after this video, there will be a deep dive in some of the features. Before I continue, I just want to remind you that if you want to understand what's been going on with Boozang, the best place is the forum. So inside the forum, you will have all kinds of topics, but you will also have release notes for every Boozang release. We do maintenance releases, maybe once or twice a week. So here you can find everything. So when I talk about a feature release 6.7.0, because I'm doing maintenance releases, I don't always have the time. What you can expect to see in this release that I'll be talking about is everything 6.6.0 and up. So all these maintenance releases will break into a feature release with a major release number, and then I might do a retrospect where I say, hey, we did this and that, okay? So remember, the place to find that is in your email if you're on the release emails, or in the forum. In this release, we've been focusing a lot on three different things, or two different things. Really, API testing has been in focus because, of course, this big news, we're making API testing free, and we're putting it as part of the free tier. We want to kind of compete a little bit or present an alternative to Postman, and basically be a test tool which is a little more for end-to-end testing than automated API testing, not manual API testing. What we did in that part that could be interesting is open API import. So if you have a project based on the OAS 3.0 spec, there will be a separate video talking about that, and you can find this here in import OpenAPI specification under the kebab menu, okay? There is also something we launched called temporary database. Pretty complex concepts, but really, really useful. I would really encourage you, if you're doing API testing, to test it out. And the way to access this is, for instance, if I go into any module, I can open the temporary database here, access it, and I will see a list of the module data. And the key with the temporary database is to be able to reuse data that comes from a previous API call and use it in a later API call. We also did a big performance fix right now, and this is the idea that we will, when you record a test or a form fill, we're going to kind of send that whole form to execute it on the client in your application, right? And this will speed up those actions by, will cut the time in half. So we've been seeing our big test suites being, 25 or 30% faster. So there's a lot of time to be gained here. Like, it's a big performance improvement. And we advise you to try it out, make sure that your tests are running as they should, and otherwise you can disable it inside the settings or on those particular actions. We also did some minor changes. There is a video on this as well. When you use the data keyword, so when you're in somewhere and you use the data keyword here, it will actually suggest to you, do you want to add this as loop data? And it just basically enables you to just make people aware that they can easily loop over CSV data or array data in a test case. We also did a small change. When you run a test, you know that in the console, you are able to use this debug data view to be able to track the data snapshot and set the data for a particular place in the test. And what we've done now, instead of having those numbers that were very confusing before, you can now select the action to get the data snapshot using a drop-down, okay? We also added autocomplete on validation script. As you know, we have autocomplete on all our JavaScript. It was missing for the validation, so now it's easier, or it's easier to avoid making a mistake. Autocomplete really helps you with that. We also added, for a very specific case, we added a new show selector that you can use to handle, you know, when you hover over a menu and you need to click an element, sometimes it doesn't really, just the mouse over doesn't trigger that hover. So we added a show selector that can help with that. This is very rarely that you will use. It's just a very specific case for legacy applications. And then we added something, one of our customers asked that here, before we were having, if you're setting the element here, you remember, he didn't like that you have to delete here and then reselect the element. So now by hitting right button, you can reselect. So you can just click right directly to reselect the element. So that's a small thing. And I think that summarizes all the new features in this new release. What is very interesting, I guess, is that really is performance and API. If you're doing API testing, you're going to see tons of value with this release. And also on the performance, these are the big things in this feature release 6.7.0. Really quickly around bug fixes that we had one thing that when you have in this click path, when you have 4 levels or more, the UI could get a little messed up. We fixed that. We also fixed an issue that when you click cut, it wouldn't activate, it would actually activate the copy and not the paste. So we fixed that. We also fixed one thing that was a little bit funny. As you see, when I add favorites, they becomes lined up at the top. We fixed the fact that when you're using a different sort order, that the favorite still stays in the top. That's a small fix for UI. We also fixed an issue that on Mac, if you launch the tool in Firefox or in Safari, you had a problem. Now you can actually launch Boozang in Firefox or Safari and it will still render. Even if you can't use the extension there, so you can't execute a test, it's very good when you're running, maybe you're running 2 projects and you want to compare or copy paste between them. We actually support a copy here and then paste into a different browser window. For instance, if I want to paste in here, you see that it actually takes the whole data, so you can actually paste between browser windows. We also had a little render issue when you used mixed data, not a big deal. And then we did a bug fix, so if I'm running API testing and have authentication tokens, we will retrieve this token always when we open this window. The token, the API token, will be retrieved if you have it set up properly. So those are the highlights for the feature release 6.7.0. So stay tuned now, and there will be some more deep dives into the features, some of the features I mentioned.